Neck-throughs, guitars, they're like a guy that you won't have a beer with you.
I want to hear what's pushing the notes.
Freddie King and B.B. King, Albert King, and let's not forget Burger King.
I don't want to blow my knuckle out.
Stainless steel is the work of the devil.
These go to 11.
From the East Amplification Tone Labs in Baltimore, Maryland, it's the Amps and Axes Show. With your hosts, Jeff the Godfather of Low Wattage Amps Bober and Mick Marcelino.
Well, good day to you, Mr. Bober.
Good day to you, Mr. Marcelino.
It's a beautiful day.
In the neighborhood.
Yes, it is. And you know why I say it's a beautiful day?
Could you be mine?
It's a beautiful day because our listeners have told other listeners, and our good friend Jude Gold with
No Guitar is Safe
podcast has just lit us up, and we can't thank him and you guys enough. You're spreading the word. We're getting the love. And please spread that love back over to Jude.
Totally.
Because when you're finished listening to this podcast, just go over there.
No Guitar is Safe.
No Guitar is Safe.
That's right.
And, man, I tell you what, he flies in a helicopter. He does a little bit different because he actually gets in front of the people and jams and stuff, and that's kind of cool.
That is kind of cool.
Yeah, because he does some, he'll get the guy to do something the guy doesn't do, normally. Like, he'll be like, remember this thing? And the guy's like, oh, yeah, and they'll start playing it. It's pretty cool.
Mm-hmm. Like,
so,
you did that back in the day.
Yeah. So
it's like
thank
the Chris
you.
Farley shit. Hey, you remember? That was awesome.
So thank you, Jude. But also, thank our buddy,
Jason
Saditas.
Mr. Saditas, yes.
With the
Quick Click.
That's right.
See, you point, I speak. It's like a marionette.
And Jason just delivers to no end. And just a great guy.
Totally great guy. And we're still working on something cool.
Yeah, I know you are.
Yeah. I gotta let you listen.
Yeah, I
cool.
want to listen.
Yeah.
Because that's what I do.
That's right.
I listen.
So do our listeners. Thank you for listening.
Yes.
Thank you.
And when you also make sure, go through, hit ampsandaccesscast.com, click through that Amazon banner if you're going to buy anything.
Right.
It doesn't cost you any extra. They kick a little bit back over here. We get to make our payments because it costs money, and we're
keep the recording devices on.
Yeah, we'd like to break even right now, and as more of you come in, then we can do even bigger stuff, and that all helps out. And we have a little PayPal button there if you feel so generous to throw a donation this way. It also helps keep the lights on.
Yep.
And then of course click on all the social media links. And like our stuff, and go out to Instagram, follow us there, and Twitter.
They're all connected. And
everything's connected. I post up there every day.
You post, I share.
It's a whole thing.
Right, it's a thing.
It's just a big love fest.
It's a good thing. It's a good thing. Quoting everybody today.
Exactly. So I got a little gear thing here.
You do?
I got a little gear, brand new thing. Never saw it before, and I got it from a future guest. Yes. I can say it. I mean, hell.
Okay.
Why not?
Why not?
We're going to have Miss Jennifer Batten on the show.
True. We
saw her with Jeff Beck.
Yes.
Years ago at Pier 6.
Yes.
She is just one of those players, and we will have that conversation with her. But they did a rig rundown through Premier Guitar.
Nice.
We love Premier Guitar.
PG.
And it was, what's his name? Doyle Bramble? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
He's such a crazy guy because you can just tell that, like, he never has a bad day.
Probably true.
We really need to interview him.
Yeah.
Because he's a hell of a player.
That's true.
He's a really good player.
Yes, he is.
And he does all the chicken picking stuff. He's got, like, this whole Nashville twang thing going on.
I mean, dude plays with Clapton.
Yes.
Come on.
Yes.
Can't be a slouch.
And
too many people waiting in that line.
Yes. And so anyway, he's doing the am I right on this? Is that who? No, wait a minute. That isn't his name, is it? I'm thinking of somebody else. I
Are you
apologize.
thinking of somebody else?
I am thinking of somebody else. Hold on a second. Anyway, there's this new amplifier out. Okay.
Okay.
And the Germans have done it once again, should I say. I go on to my email, and Premiere sends out when they do new rig rundowns.
Right.
And they did a rig rundown with Jennifer Batten.
Okay.
Okay. So she's got this set up, and I'm like, oh, well, here we go again. It's going to be one of these, just one of these direct things like a fractal
Right.
or a Kemper or something to that nature. And I'm trying to find this here, and I apologize. But anyway, the amplifier, and I wish Petra was here because she speaks and can read German. The site is in German, and I will find out the name of that person. But anyway, so the name of the company is called Blu Guitar, and it's BLU Guitar. Now,
Okay.
the inventor is Thomas Blug. It's BLUG.
Okay.
This guy played with Michael Jackson at one point. He was a guitarist for Michael Jackson. He's one of these guys, session guys, done it a lot. But he's also like...
That's probably where the Batten connection comes in.
Yes.
To him.
Yes, because
Right,
I think
okay.
he took over after she left or something like that.
Okay.
I know Greg Howell took over immediately after her, but I think there was a connection there where Greg didn't do
Probably.
that for very long,
Right.
and then this guy probably took over.
Right.
But anyway, this amplifier is 2 pounds. It's this big, Jeff. Can you see that? Can you see that little thing? Okay. So,
I can.
So he's a studio guy first and foremost. So in his studio he has like 6 Marshall heads, ranging from the 45, the old stuff, the JTM 45, down to the super leads and
JMPs. And
yeah, he doesn't
yeah.
have anything modern.
Okay.
He had everything was pretty vintage, right? So anyway, that thing right there is 100 watts RMS.
Okay.
And it actually has a tube in it. Now, this looks like a 3-button floor a pedal.
Effect, yeah.
Right? Looks like an effect. It is based off of, it's got 4 voicings. It's got vintage, classic, it's clean, vintage, classic, and modern. And he
Okay.
built it off of the Marshalls. And when he gets to modern, you can really go crazy, real heavy metal. The demonstration that he does on his website is amazing, to say the least.
I'm gonna have to check this
And
out.
this has reverb built in. It's obviously digital. There's 3 buttons on this thing. So the 3 buttons can be assigned different ways. So the one to the far left can actually switch between channels. The one in the middle, is a boost. And the one to the right is a reverb. But
Okay.
you can change them up. You can do different things. It's programmable.
You can assign the buttons to
You can
for
assign
different functions.
Yeah, you can
Okay.
assign the buttons to different things, so you can actually have it like set up with 3 channel switches to where the reverb's added in or it's not added in, that type of thing. There's some knobs on the side that overall boost volume and tone selector, so you can kind of dial it in to where it's like a really old vintage Marshall, and then kind of tighten it up so it has a little bit more of a modern day type Marshall, but still holding that vintage sound from those voicings. Now this thing actually has a tube in it. Okay, and maybe that's how he gets the warmth. It is scary how close that thing sounds to the actual Marshalls. In this demo that he has the stack. He has a close mic that's a 25-watt cabinet off camera. He takes the guitar jack out of the thing, plugs it right into it. He's got a mixing board behind him. You hear, and he just pulls it out, puts it in, does the whole thing, and it's got a direct out on it, and it was pretty close. He said you can hear that it's not as dynamic as the cabinet. He was very honest with his own product, but it was really close. It was like, if you were playing live and you were in a pinch and you couldn't have a cabinet on stage, you throw a direct signal at that thing, perfect. Then he took like a TS-909, one of those tube screamers, or 808, whatever.
808 or TS-9.
TS-9, sorry. He takes it, plugs it into the thing, goes through the clean channel. I was like, oh my God. This thing
reacts like a normal amp would react.
Because it is a normal amp. It's got an 8 and 16 ohm load coming out of the back of it that you can do. You can actually you can have a cabinet. He makes a cabinet And his cabinets are right there. It's a 112, and I may be wrong because I didn't read it. Jennifer Batten was saying it was a 112, or I think it's a 210. I don't know. Anyway, what he's done with that cabinet is he's ported it in such a way that it really moves outward. Mm-hmm. And you can actually take a plate off of the back of it, just a little plate, and it gives you the open back.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
So this guy, and then he's got a foot controller that goes with it. But what I like about it is that if you were traveling like Jennifer is, she says this is the best thing that she's had because she takes her laptop, she takes the foot controller, and she has this 112 cabinet.
Right.
And this thing's there, and she's got 100 watts at her disposal. She had a hernia because she had a rack that was so big she had to get a Johnny lift for her pickup truck. It was 21U or something. It was from the Beck shows.
Oh, okay.
And she said, well, when I had guys carrying that stuff, it was real easy. I could just do my thing.
Cartage companies take care of that
stuff.
Yeah.
So she said, but then when I got off of that tour, then I had to carry it. Mm-hmm. And she said, anything lighter is better, smaller, denser and all. And these things are not even out yet. This is still ready to go, but it's not ready. It hasn't been shipped. Yeah. So I'd read you some of the stuff, but even in English, it's still in German. That's the weird part. I don't think they've done the website correct. I mean, you look at that, that's all German.
Okay.
So it's unreadable for me, and I was like, wow, if Petra was there, we could ever read some of it, but we'll touch base when we talk to Jennifer about it.
For sure.
But I can see that this is one of those things. It's like everybody's walking around with a Kemper or Fractal, and that's very digital. Mm-hmm. The whole realm of the interior of those things is digital from the beginning to end. And I had a guy, he emailed me, and he said, hey, stop busting on the thing. And I'm like, look, I'm not busting on it. Okay, we've been proven that the Kemper and the Fractals are not going away. Those things are very well made. They're very, they're very well thought out.
And they serve a purpose.
They do a very good job
Absolutely.
at what they do.
Right.
I mean,
I wonder how much of this is digital in any way, shape, or form. I don't know.
I don't think it really is.
Really?
I
You
think
it's
it
all
has.
analog?
Yeah, I think the signal has that it stays pure, but I think the switching part can be changed into a MIDI. It has a MIDI in and out, and that's basically
if it's assignable. There's some digital switching going on. Of course.
Exactly. Yeah. So he's got some ICs in there for the switching part, but I was very impressed. And when you roll back,
mm-hmm.
cleans right up. So it's got all the characteristics of how like one of those amps were back in the day.
Yeah.
So it's a Marshall. He's 100% will tell you Marshall tone. Mm-hmm. And he's not kidding. It is.
They must have a decent Class D output stage.
Probably got some new
in it. I mean, for 100 watt in a floor box, you've got to have a Class D amp.
The only thing I wonder is because I was looking at it, you can look all the way around. I don't see any vent holes anywhere, and 100 watts. I don't care what it is. You put it in something that small, I can imagine it would start to get a little warm.
They run relatively cool, but I mean, if you're playing them hard for hours,
sure.
Everything generates heat to some degree.
Yeah.
It has to.
And it's a 16, like I said, it's an 8 and 16
how your computer
ohm.
gets hot.
Oh, yeah, it does.
Right.
8 and 16 ohms on the back, and it's switchable. Mm-hmm. You can switch it out. And I was very interested. I really would love to see one, but when we talk to her, we'll have to really get in depth with it.
Yeah, for sure.
So it's the website is bluguitar.com.
Blu Guitar.
So go out there and check it out. And
that's funny because there used to be there was a collection
mm-hmm.
of called, it might have been plural, Blu Guitars, and that's what I thought somehow
he makes a guitar.
I thought how it was this was a collection of commissioned guitars all in blue. This guy Scott Chinnery.
Oh, okay.
Back in the day, he was up in New Jersey. Made a lot of money with like vitamin supplements or something like that. He had a whole collection of Blu guitars.
Oh.
He commissioned all these guitar makers to make for him. And so it was a pretty astounding collection.
I got to find this gentleman's name.
Yeah, where did the association come in?
I think I did something wrong, and I think we'll have to do it. Okay, so here's Jennifer Batten.
Well,
and then
Doyle Bramwell is a fantastic player. And we
yes,
should
he
have
is,
him on.
and we should have him on. And the guy, John Bollinger. John Bollinger. John Bollinger, the guy from Premiere.
Bollinger.
What did I say? Doyle?
Doyle. You said Doyle.
I'm an idiot.
It's John Bollinger.
John Bollinger. We ought to have him on because he's a really good Nashville type kind of guitarist guy. He does like he does a ton of rig rundowns, but he does some product.
He does mostly product demos now. I think. Yeah.
For Premiere
PG.
Guitar.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, check that out, and we will have her on in some weeks.
Yes. Scheduling
more like months.
Yeah. Her schedule is crazy, but
it's always a good thing.
No, it is. It is. We're dealing with a few people right now.
Her setup is insane.
Scheduling
by the way.
is crazy, but
has a MacBook Air in it.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
Oh, and one other thing.
Schofield he's on stage.
Yes.
With a guitar and a computer.
I know, it's crazy, isn't
That's
it? The world has really changed, and we can
That's a quick rig rundown.
Yeah, we can
guitar, computer. There you go.
We can poo it, but I mean, it's here and it's not going anywhere. And as the technology gets better, they're going to keep fooling us even further than what they are now. It's like Pixar. It's starting to look like real humans, and it's not.
Right.
The one other thing I wanted to mention, and the reason I say this is because we've had him on, but Richie Fleegler. Okay. Anytime Richie Fleegler's name is associated with any product, you should buy it. Don't even listen to what it's about. Just go buy it. This man is a marketing genius, and he doesn't touch anything that obviously isn't the absolute top-notch quality, right? Because the Fishman Triple Play is this pickup that sits underneath your... Okay, it literally destroyed the Roland VG8. Remember the Roland devices?
Oh, yeah.
This is destroyed it. This thing is insane what it can do. And she demos this thing, and it's like, oh, yeah, she's playing the harmonica on her guitar. And it sounds like a harmonica. You can actually hear the breath.
Look out, Kim Wilson.
Richie never even mentioned this because he's with the Fishman Fluence.
Right. He was brought into.
He was brought in for that.
The Fluence.
Well, let me tell you, I didn't even know about this thing. But she said all the VG8 stuff, which was a major modification to her guitar, is still on there because you can't get rid of it once you put it on.
Right.
But now this thing is the actual piece. And she just went on there and said, this kicks the hell out of the Roland device. And she goes, and I'm saying that.
Well, I mean, that's been around forever, and it's been improved, over the years, I'm sure. And
yeah, she said, though, the tracking for the thing was not very good for the Roland. This is...
I'm sure they improved that, but I know early on that was a big issue. It's
she
like
said
you couldn't...
This is
the guys that play really fast couldn't.
It just... Yeah. That whole world has been... Man, they've really tried over the years.
Yeah,
but supposedly this is the one.
Wow.
At the moment, you want to get this one.
Well... It's because it's the best one.
That's right.
There you go.
Richie drives great cars. He lives in an awesome area. And, of course, he's working for a great company.
That's right.
We've still got to try a set of those pickups.
The Fishman? Yeah.
And everybody
we've
talked to that has used them, like Greg Mara, I mean, he's a shred guy. Fishman Fluence. He says, I get my guitars, I don't even play them. He goes, I pull the pickups out, Fishman go right in. I've actually... On Facebook, we've conversed back and forth. And he said, no. Wow. He goes, I don't even listen to regular pickups anymore, is what he said.
Wow.
And he says, and, it's nice because you get really 4 pickups. You for 2, you get 4. So you got a like a vintage and a modern.
Right.
A little hot, not so hot. So
very
anyway,
cool.
So the guy that we're going to interview, we did a live interview.
We did.
When I say live, we were there.
We were there.
Yes.
And so was he. See, that's the difference. We're always here, but he was with us.
Yes, he was.
So,
and here's the cool part. And maybe in the future we can talk to him and let him know about the Blu guitar if it's anything worthwhile. Because remember, they switched over to fractals.
They did.
Yeah.
They did. And that's because they just do so many fly dates nowadays.
Yeah.
You know, it's not like they're out for months at a clip where they're taking their backline with them. They're getting on a plane Thursday
and coming back Sunday and stuff
you know,
like that.
they're playing Friday, Saturday, maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday, you know, on a lot of weeks, and they're flying back, and you know, the gear just moves with them in the air. So I can totally understand why they would use fractals, or anybody in that kind of situation would use fractals.
Sure.
You know, because you
just don't know what you're going to get.
Well, yeah, well, that's the whole thing. You know, if you're not in a truck on the road, you're not carrying your own backline. That in and of itself is a huge expense on the road, you know. But renting backline is equally as expensive. And it ain't cheap. And, and you know, you can call out what you want, but A, are you going to get it? And B, what kind of shape is it in when you get there?
I saw, not to drive off into a tangent, but Kirk McKim, right before he came on our show, Pat Travers took a picture of this amplifier that was waiting for him at this club, and it was literally a homemade cabinet.
Really?
Yeah, and it looked like it had fallen off a truck.
Wow.
And was drug. So they had to make a call down to, or no, I'm sorry, there was band equipment there for the next band, like the next day or something. So they got a hold of those guys and allowed them to use it. But that's the kind of thing that you'll run into. You don't know what you're going to have.
Right. Right.
And then if you got this certain thing that you're used to hearing and it doesn't even come close, your show is shot.
Yeah. It's, you know, you spend all night trying to get something you're comfortable with.
Yeah.
You know?
And you're off the range.
Yeah. But you know, these guys are all they both went fractal, in-ears, you know, everything is, it's pretty much a set it and forget it kind of gig. Yeah.
It's all reliable on the sound man at that point.
Right. Right.
Hope you have a good one.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know, and some
he can't screw it up too hard, but you know.
No. And I don't think they're to the point where they or they need to be, the point where they bring their own deck, you know, their own desk, and just set their own desk up, and you know, because a lot of guys do that nowadays too, where the desks are all digital and they're all programmed,
and they all carry in a suitcase.
Yeah, and you just go in and you put all the lines into your desk, and I mean, you know, it's so preset and automated. All you need to do is pretty much just flatten the room, you know, and go. Yeah,
until the EMP hits.
True.
And then there's going to be a resurgence of tube amps and analog mixing boards.
That's right. And they'll all be tube.
And they will all be
tube. They're
exactly.
2 power amps.
As soon as the power comes back on, but
but we're okay for right now, and they're embracing technology, and we'll talk to him. I think we talked to him a little bit about that, but a whole lot about his history
which I had no idea.
Yeah,
you threw me a hook on that one.
Where they've come from, and really cool stuff.
Yes,
really cool stuff. A couple of very interesting stories that this man has for you. So we're going to take a quick break here, and when we come back, we will be back with our guest of the week, Mr. John Thomas Griffith. We call him Griff of Cowboy Mouth.
This is John Harrington of the John Harrington Band and Steely Dan, and you're listening to Amps and Axes.
All right, and here we are. We are on location at the beautiful Rams.
Yeah, once again
at the beautiful Rams Head in Annapolis, Maryland, with our guest of the week, guitarist extraordinaire for currently Cowboy Mouth, but we'll get into some of the earlier stuff. Mr. John Thomas Griffith, but we just call him Griff. Griff, what's up, man?
Hey, man. Thanks for having me. I'm flattered. I am very flattered to be here.
I always say it's
honored.
Good to be had, you know. So.
Yeah. Have me.
Have at
I'm
me.
Yours.
Excellent. Well, at least for now.
Okay.
At least for now. So, thanks for taking the time, man. And I know you just came off sound check and you got a gig to play tonight, and you know, we really appreciate you taking the time.
Anytime. So, anytime for you, Jeffrey.
Thank you. Thank you, man. You know what? I definitely want to go in the time machine for this one, because you know, a lot of times I'll take the guest and, you know, take a trip in the
memory lane.
Yeah, in the Wayback Machine, you know, and find out where you came from and what really put the music bug in you. So give us a little history on Mr. John Thomas Griffith.
Well, I grew up in the Deep South. My parents were from Mississippi and Tennessee. They were music lovers. They didn't play music. They didn't play instruments. I started about 6 years old taking piano lessons, and my folks moved around a lot. My father was a chemical engineer, and we moved from Houston. I was born in Texas, Lubbock, Texas. We lived in Houston, California, New Jersey, down in New Orleans. And this whole time, my parents, they loved music, so they listened to Elvis. One of my mom's favorites was Rudy Valley.
Nice.
Cathedral.
Y'all bringing me down.
But you need a road case for your megaphone, That's like,
Me and my megaphone, we're going on the road.
Hanging out at Spencer's buying those little $5 ones, but you got to buy like 80 of them because they only work for 3 or 4 times. So you still need a bigger case for that.
But my folks were really into everything, classical music. My father watched Hee Haw on Saturday nights, and I was there watching it. Of course, when I grew up, I finally realized why he really watched Hee Haw.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
For the boobs.
It was for the guitar players, right?
Yeah.
Right. No, I was. That's why I was watching it. I was really. I was thrilled to see Buck Owens and especially Roy Clark. Man, wow, what a pick!
Well, the red, white, and blue acoustic. Remember?
Yep.
That was the thing. That like it was like a magnet.
Yep.
Buck Owens and the Buckaroos.
Yeah.
Now you talk about guitar players. I mean, Don Rich.
Oh yeah.
Played in Buck Owens' band and was his partner and singing partner too for many, many years. And that guy, I think he doesn't get props.
Oh, for sure.
For sure. A lot. You mentioned Don Rich, and I bet half the people in this country don't know who he is.
Mm-hmm.
But I was influenced by them. Roy Clark, all the Earl Scruggs, all the country flat pickers, banjo players.
Jerry Reed,
yes, yes. Gosh, I can't think of half of them. Earl Scruggs, Bill Monroe.
Chet Atkins.
Chet Atkins, yes.
Yeah.
Mostly
there was Flat and Scruggs. Lester Flat.
Right, and they had when I moved to California when I was 8 years old, my father bought me a little transistor radio, one of these realistic ones from Radio Shack.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember turning it on. The first thing I heard out of it was Jimi Hendrix.
No.
Foxy Lady. And I was like, what? What the hell is this?
What kind of radio did you buy me?
I know. And of course, right after that came Communication Breakdown, Whole Lot of Love. I mean, I just, and Cream, I just became, all of a sudden I was like, oh my God, the world just opened up. And I'm 8 years old, and I'm like, my dad bought me a guitar, a little Spanish guitar, nylon string thing with a record and a book, a 45 record.
Mm-hmm.
Nice. And my fingers were not big enough to wrap around and make a proper D chord or an E chord, really, for that matter. But I remember just putting it in the closet and just going, well, not right now. And I remember picking it up back again when I was about 12 years old. And now my fingers had developed and I could get them around the guitar neck a lot easier. And of course, when that happened, I was like, oh, look out, girls. Here I come.
You think about those the two songs that Hendrix would, of course, Foxy Lady and Purple Haze.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Two of the most strangest beginnings that you could possibly, and it was like he was almost like he was thinking about, like, how can I attract people to the song? Because in Purple Haze, it's two of these weird contrasting notes.
Right, yeah, the feedback.
Right?
Yeah, they're,
and then Foxy Lady, it's just this thing that nobody had ever done.
Right. It sounds like he's pouncing on you. You're like, boom.
Yeah, exactly.
Like it's a big-footed guy coming in the room or something like that,
Right.
Yeah, I was thinking about that. It's like, man, that would be, especially for 8 years old.
Oh yeah.
There's certainly no pop intros. They were like way outside the box.
Yeah. There's no pretty harmonies in Jimi Hendrix songs either.
No. Some beautiful harmony notes, but
cool.
I mean.
Those things influenced me big time. I mean, they really grabbed me by the balls and just said, and I once I got my hand around that guitar, I was like, okay, I think I maybe like this, and I bought a really cheap, I think it was a Bentley, or it was a no-name Les Paul Gold Top. It never stayed in tune, and I started learning some Leonard Skinner, licks, you know, just because they were just pretty simple. They were just like, that's all you had to do.
Yeah.
So I remember going back to New Jersey after I'd moved down to New Orleans, and I brought my guitar with me, and a bunch of guys had gotten in bands. And I was so excited because hey man, I could play Leonard Skinner. We can do Freebird. I could do the da 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 all day long, you know. And I was like, I was so proud of myself. But yeah, I got my first. I started writing songs in high school on piano. I was also a piano player, so I was into Elton John and Barry Manilow and Carole King.
Were you formally trained on piano? Or?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that.
I took lessons for 13 years, learned all the classics. Boring. I mean, not. I shouldn't say that because now I really appreciate them for what they are.
Right.
Yeah.
More so than ever. Yeah. I tell you know, it's funny. I have parents come up to me and go, "Hey, I want to buy my kid a guitar," and I go, "You know what? You do yourself a favor, buy a little spin-it piano, give him piano lessons, and I guarantee when he's 10 years down the road, he'll be able to pick up any instrument and play it."
Really?
And I really think that's why I can play trumpet with ease. Well, being in high school jazz band helps when you got guys around you to show you what to do. But
Sure.
But you know, it's it seems like you understand that it's not a hassle. The theory is not like over your head. You get it. You know, from all those years of piano.
Well, it's
training.
very visual. You know.
Yeah. It's all kind of laid out in front of you.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And you know, Tony McAlpine was classically trained pianist.
Wow.
And one day, same thing. Just was like, I'm going to play guitar, and then just became, you know, a juggernaut.
Right. Yeah.
Guitar player.
I think so. Around that time, about 14, 15, all those lessons, piano lessons for all those years, I could understand guitar a lot better than I did when I was 8. You know.
And you obviously
Interesting.
read.
Yes. Yes. Road. What do they call it?
Sight rode the keyboard. That's right.
It's just a stroke.
What if you're blind? If you're blind,
yeah, exactly.
you're braille. You know. Stevie Wonder blows my mind. I gotta tell you, dude. I mean, talk about piano players or keyboard players.
Yeah.
That just
Ray Charles too.
Yeah.
There was a thing I saw an interview with him one time when he was sitting there and he goes, you know, he had the piano teacher was teaching him this, and she'd walk out of the room and he'd be like, ding, 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 you know, really getting on it, and then she'd come back in, he'd be like, ding, ding.
You know, it's when I moved to New Jersey, I asked my mom to switch teachers and give me a piano teacher that taught pop exclusively.
Okay.
And I had a guy that taught me pretty much most of the pop stuff that was on the radio and made me understand what was going on. Elton John, Billy Joel was a big fan.
Oh yeah.
But I had this. My father had this associate. It was this black man that he worked with named Glenn Miller, and he would come to the house for dinner, and my mom would go, "Hey, go play something on the piano for Glenn," you know. Oh, come on, Mom, really? I'm embarrassed myself, you know. So he sat down with me. I remember one time. I'll never forget this because it's a real turning point in my career, my life. He sat down and taught me. He started playing like this little bluesy runs and stuff, and I was like, "What's that?" And he kind of just sat there and explained to me the blues third, you know, off the E flat, you know, if you're a C, you know. And he started doing this stuff and started teaching me barrel house, like da 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 da, the half step walk downs and stuff.
Wow.
And from that moment on, I was not. When I listened to Leonard Skinner, fuck the guitars. I was listening to Billy Powell, you know.
Yeah.
And I'm like copping his licks and stuff. And so that's where that.
It was really as big a part of that music as the guitars were. It really was.
Yeah.
Sure. Oh, yeah.
You know, his licks you don't really notice it because you just go by and they're there.
And you know, I guess like for that time, nobody was doing that. I mean, you had guys like in Deep Purple, you know, and stuff like that. But he was like, that was like ragtime stuff, you know, and he was just doing it on a piano.
Yeah. Well, you know that guy. You know, Billy Powell was he was a guitar tech, a roadie for Leonard Skinner, and he just happened to sit down at the piano one day and just started wailing with the rest of the band, and they were like, "You're done. You're the piano player." Yeah.
Wow.
I've heard that story. I'll tell you a crazy story real quick about Billy Powell. We did this rock boat, which leaves out of like Fort Lauderdale. It's based out of Atlanta, Georgia. It's called Sixth Man. They do this rock boat. They have a Leonard Skinner boat.
Yeah.
And the first 4 days we were on there, we never saw any of the guys in the band. They kind of kept themselves up in the front of the boat and then venture out. And the idea is to meet your fans, and there's like 2,000 people on here that are locked in that you can't get away from.
Right.
Whether you like it or not, because you kind of agree to that when you buy into it. Right. So we did our set on a Thursday night, and I remember there was I told the 6-man crew on the boat that if there was anybody on this boat that I wanted to meet, and I also told my wife before I left, I said, you know what, when I go on this cruise, I want to meet Billy Powell. I just want to meet him and say how much I appreciate what he's done for me. Let me rip off his licks, you know. So sure enough, man, one of the crew guys comes to get me after our show. We're at this little bar by the casino, and he comes walking through the back door, and he goes, hey, man, we brought him up here. And we shook hands, and we introduced ourselves and sat there and talked for a couple of minutes. And I said, well, you know, I don't want to waste your time. So I see this little white baby grand piano in the deck in the middle of nowhere. There's 2 people sitting there drinking Mai Tais or whatever. And I sit down, and I just kind of tweedled, and there's a cover band about 50 yards down the deck playing. And I sit there, and then all of a sudden I feel somebody sit down next to me, and I turn to my right.
Billy?
Holy, you got it, man. I was like, I'm getting goosebumps, you know, just thinking about it, man. And he sat there, and all of a sudden the guy, I knew the guy on stage. His name was Fernando, and he goes, what key you want it in, Griff? And I said, I just yelled G. You know, and they just started rocking, man, and we started boogie-woogieing, and he just took off. And all of a sudden, next thing you know, there's like 5 people deep swarmed around this little baby grand piano, like shooting video and pictures and stuff. And that was the magic of the rock boat. That's what it was supposed to be about. And
right.
It really, and I couldn't have asked
even different
for more.
players getting together. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. That's awesome.
So, I did the Rock Legends.
Yeah, and, you've been on that a couple times.
It's they walk around.
Yes.
But you don't see that interaction.
Well, maybe someone's got to drop a damn grand piano in the middle of it.
Right.
See what happens, you know? Come on.
Now, you kind of, I'm sure it's intimidating because you kind of think, well, if I walk up to Carmine a piece and I go, hey, dude, yeah, man, you rock, man. He's like, get the hell out of here. Beat it, kid. Yeah. You know, right.
Yeah, I know I do.
Yeah, I know.
Oh, man. Well, let's not go all the way back because this is. I have a lot to ask you, but what was the like the first band that you remember playing it? Was it in where did you go in Jersey, by the way? Where did you live?
I lived in a little town called Cranford, New Jersey. Cranford, New Jersey.
Are you serious?
Yes, it was about 20 miles outside of New York City.
I was born and raised in Linden.
Oh, I know exactly what it is. We used to play you guys in football.
Exactly.
In baseball.
Yeah.
I was actually a baseball player growing up, and I played varsity ball in my sophomore year at Cranford. And we played Linden, Westfield, Plainfield.
Cranford was right over the Parkway Bridge for us.
Yes, sir.
You know, once I was Cranford, once I was Linden.
And I got to tell you, you know, for all the flack that New Jersey gets, but, you know, it's such a polluted state, man. I lived in I lived in the Watchung Mountain Range right there.
Oh, yeah.
You know, that's really close to it was beautiful.
Yeah,
gorgeous,
I have no
gorgeous
complaints.
country.
I
man.
really have no complaints.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But were you playing there or?
No, I didn't really have a band then. I was fantasizing about it, you know, kind of one of those things. As we say, I had, like I said, I came back when I moved to New Orleans. This is a funny story. I was going to play baseball for the high school that I was going to, but they wouldn't let me play the first year because I came from a different county. I was bussed in from a different county, a parish, as they call it. And I was stunned and devastated that I wasn't going to play baseball my junior or senior year of high school. I was like, are you kidding? So I ran back to my dad that night. I said, what kind of fucking place did you move us to, man? And it was one of those epiphanies you have about politics and how the world really works and stuff like that. You know, you kind of. So I just, I said, well, what am I going to do now? And I just started writing songs on the piano. And, of course, some of them are probably cheesy Barry Manilow style stuff, you know. But I got a lot of kudos from the band people, you know, that were in the band, the stage band, marching band. Of course, in marching band in New Orleans, you got to march in parades, Mardi Gras. So that's a prerequisite. That's a mandatory. But I played in the jazz band, and I got beat out by this guy who was a really good piano player. So I was second chair, and I just sat there. And when the guy, we took a break, I picked up the bass guitar because the guy that played bass, the only reason he had played bass because he could read bass clef.
Wow.
And he played tuba. And so his name was Larry Woods, really sweet guy. He was in my class, and I just picked up the bass and started just jamming with the drummer, who was a really dear friend of mine, and we just started playing ZZ Top or something like that, something we knew, and blues. And band director walks in, he goes, "Hey, Griffith, you play the bass?" And I was like, well, not really, you know. I mean, it's just kind of jamming. He goes, "All right, well, take it home and learn how to play it. And Woods, you go over to tuba."
Tuba.
So you go to back to tuba.
Once again, not getting laid. That poor bastard couldn't get a break.
I know.
Oh, God, that's hilarious.
Well, I felt bad for kicking him out of his chair, you know?
Right?
Like, well, shit, man, I don't even know.
You must have already shown more promise than he did.
Well, I tell you what, I was scared, and I was a little intimidated. I went home, and I took a piece of paper, and I drew 4 lines on it. Mm-hmm. And I drew the frets, and I could read music, so that was no problem. But I didn't know where the notes were. I didn't know what they were called.
So you mapped out the neck.
Yes, and it worked. And I was reading Herbie Hancock, Count Basie.
Wow. How old are you at this time?
I'm like I'm 16, 17.
That's pretty innovative, because most people would not do that part.
Right.
Right.
Well, it kind of helped me, because when I see like an F. On the page, I'd look at my little page, my little diagram.
Know where you had to put
where I had to put my fingers, and then you get used to where you got to move. We would go to competitions in Nashville and around Louisiana, and they would sit. You would sit there with your whole band, and they would place a score in front of each member of the band, and you had to play it.
Wow.
Straight up, without even practicing it.
Here, go.
Wow. And we did really well. I was really proud of the band I was in. And that was really cool, man. It put you on the spot, taught you a little like what it's like to be in the hot seat.
Yeah.
Well, back in the day.
Baptism by fire, man.
I know.
Back in the day, all those band guys, all those big orchestra guys like behind Buddy Rich and all.
Oh, yeah.
Because they would fire guys on the road. I used to hear these stories. My old music teacher was a horn player in Otis Redding's band.
Mm.
And he said you'd go in the club and it'd be 2:00 in the afternoon and they'd be rehearsing. And the drummer ran the band. Back then, most of the time, it was the drummer that
he was the band leader.
Yeah.
Especially if it was Buddy Rich.
Exactly. with the 4.5-hour berating from one town to
right.
Oh, yeah.
But he said that, guys would be there, sitting at the tables. And he goes, they weren't there to eat lunch. They were there to take your job.
Were they were there for an open chair?
Yeah,
wow.
they were the local.
Wow,
they were
no
the local.
kidding.
Yeah, local musicians, right?
Interesting.
So he said, no PA system. You did your horn part. You had to blow it from your ankles up. And he said the drummer would charge you like $10 a bad note, and if you hit 3 of them, you were gone.
Gone.
And
3
then they would
strikes,
just
you're
go,
out.
who knows how to play trumpet? And the guy would raise his hand and get up here.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Wow.
He said it was real cutthroat during those years.
Uh-huh.
But those guys were like, they were the top musicians
Oh,
that
yeah.
we've never heard of.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
He was brutal. He was brutal.
Yeah. So they would have to, the guy would be out in the audience. He'd have to know how to read that music just like that.
Right.
So same thing. They would just plop you down in front of it and go.
Well, I got to tell you, New Orleans, I remember we would go to these little competitions, and there'd be like the other high schools would be there, and I remember Newman was there, and they had Wynton Marsalis
Wow.
And we were already talking about him, in high school.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you got to check this kid out, dude.
Wow.
And we thought we had a pretty good first chair trumpet player, John Marks, but man, when you watched Wynton, dude, you knew it was going to be big. You could just tell in that junior, senior year of high school.
Sometimes it's just something about somebody. It's like, oh wow, this is different.
You just know. But it's funny, when I was in New Jersey, all the kids were getting into like New Riders of the Purple Sage and the Grateful Dead and Graham Parsons. I hadn't really discovered until then, and Nitty Gritty Dirt Band. And I bought a banjo. I got a really nice Guild Madeira. It was a 5-string banjo, and I took lessons. And I didn't really stick with it very long. But I moved to New Orleans, and I was like, and everybody down here is into jazz and blues and stuff like that.
There's a banjo every 5 feet.
I was like, well, I don't need a banjo now. I mean, it was really bizarre. I was like, why are these kids really in the country up here in the north? It was kind of weird.
Yeah.
If you're from the south, I get it.
I played my share of Dead. Up there, for sure. Dead. Well, Allman Brothers for sure.
Yeah.
But we definitely had a lot of Deadheads.
I thought moving to New Orleans was, now in hindsight, a natural progression for me because it's like a super melting pot. Of all different styles, pop, rock. I mean, I first started out in punk band, Red Rockers.
Yeah, we're going to get to that.
And we were from not even like the right side of town. We were like from the West Bank, way back in the suburbs. And most likely place you'd find a punk band, I guess, in New Orleans.
So was Red Rockers one of your first bands? I mean, obviously you probably had to have some other stuff.
I had a little high school band with the guys. Had a side band with the drummer I spoke of and jazz and a friend of mine who played bari sax, but he played bass. I played guitar, and we had a guy. I don't know what happened to him, but he was the lead guitar player, and all he could really do was and that was every lead.
Well, he now plays for Metallica.
Oh,
sorry.
It's okay.
That was a Dave Mustaine line.
But I was just starting to get into.
Stop it.
We'll interview him. I mean, hell.
Oh, for sure.
I'm not going to say anything bad about anybody. I got no room to talk. But we were doing. I was just starting to get into Tom Petty and kind of, I guess, with the fringe of new wave.
Okay.
Yeah.
I guess back then you could consider Tom Petty even almost new wave at first album. The way he looked and
before he punched the wall.
Right.
Yeah.
Boy, what a mistake, huh?
Obviously, the best mistake he ever did.
That's scary, man.
That whole traveling Wilburys thing must have worked out pretty well.
Right.
No, the first album was great. It was, it was that type of music developing.
Right.
At that point,
yeah, it was kind of before its time.
Right. Pat Benatar. They thought she was new wave. Or you could assume. Well, in New Orleans on the West Bank, trust me, if anything was any other than country or rock, or it was.
It was new wave.
New wave.
Yeah.
Of course, my biggest influence is Jimmy Page. I mean, I have to say it.
Wow.
He's. I love how he goes in and out of like what I call like minor into major.
Mm-hmm.
He'll flip flop back and forth in the same run. It's really it's kind of unique.
I mean, it's easy to do if you're playing something in a major.
Right.
Not so easy if you're playing something in a minor to try
right.
to put a major in there.
Right.
It's like, wow, what did you just do?
Right.
It's my new. I'm going to do that all the time now. I'm just going to play major when we're doing minor songs. It's my new thing.
Do it. Do it.
Well, Jimmy Page, he's got a couple licks.
Yeah.
I've
stole
famous.
a bunch of his stuff.
Who hasn't?
Right.
Like college not being a big Boston, Boston not being a big college town.
Oh my God, I love that joke.
A great example is what's the song?
Bring It On Home.
Bring It On Home.
Yeah.
It sounds like you're starting out in a minor, and then it goes with that little major lick right there. It's a common thread in his stuff, but I love it. I can't think of any. Billy Gibbons, I gotta say, dude, hands down, those two guys influenced my playing.
That's so cool.
Wow. That's who I rip off.
Hey, great players rip off the best.
Yeah. I love Billy's. He does that double stop stuff that where you you pick the D and the B string.
Oh yeah, like in what's the I'm trying to think of the name of the song. We're Bad. Nationwide. He does it in there.
Yeah, and you were talking about like get in, get out kind of thing. Elliot Easton.
Yeah,
is another one.
I was fortunate to know him
really?
Back in the late Red Rockers days. We had moved up to Boston, and he became a friend of ours.
Wow!
And we'd go to his house, and he had a little. I remember, it was like this is way 1986. and 4-track recorders with a cassette had just really been come out on the market.
Tascams or
the Fostex.
And he had one, and we were like, wow, cool, dude.
We can record 4 things at once. Let's go.
Right, let's do it.
On a cassette.
Man, and he had a basement, and I swear to God, it was probably about 1,000 square feet, and about 900 of it was covered with guitars.
All left-handers.
900. I mean, he amazing. Wow. And of course, every one of them had to be left-handed, right?
Yeah.
So that's kind of
Licks Elliott.
Yeah.
So let's talk a little bit about this this song that your obscure band did called China.
Right.
That was a pretty big hit for you guys.
It was very big. It was a heavy rotation on MTV.
Yeah.
We went to top 10 the country, Billboard.
Yeah. And you were fronting this band.
Yes.
Right? Yeah.
I was a singer, and I was one of the principal writers, and I was actually the lead player because James Singletary, he was my best friend in high school, and we started playing guitar together, and we had no clue what we were doing, and we just figured, you know what? If we would listen to Tuesday nights in New Orleans, there was a show called John G's Punk Show, and he played 4 hours of just imports from England and New York, Ramones,
nice.
Blondie, everything. Johnny Thunders and the New York Dolls and stuff like that. And we just figured, you know what, if we could just learn that Chuck Berry lick, we'd have it made, dude. One of us just choose that and we'll play chords on it either. We got it done, dude.
Perfect.
So, and you know, that was a great thing about punk, that era, you know, the 76, 77, where you felt like you could do it.
Yeah.
You know, oh, I can do this. You know,
it was so much more about the energy than anything else. You know, it was a very minimalist time when it came to instrumentation. You know,
right?
But it was really about the energy behind it.
And it's hard to do.
I
know guys that do it, and I go, "How the hell do you do that?"
Yeah,
it just doesn't even it isn't even in me. You know, it has to be in you.
Yes.
You know, and that's something that you can't teach.
Well, we just started learning stuff off the radio.
Angst-ridden, you know.
Yeah.
We started learning Clash and Buzzcocks and the Damned and Sex Pistols, Johnny Thunders, New York Dolls stuff, Ramones, and we got to a point where let's start a band, you know, and why not?
Yeah.
And we got another neighborhood guy on bass, you know, Darren Hill, and we went off. Started listening to Generation X, early stuff.
Billy Idol,
yeah, really good stuff. And that first album, we were so into it, man. We found out they sped it up. You know, that's why I had the guitars are like stinging your eyebrows off, man. It's like, you know,
they're tuned to F sharp.
I know.
Right. How come I can't figure this out? That's hilarious. I had not heard that.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
Yeah. And I've just bought those 2 albums, the first and second album, again just a few weeks ago, just to relive them again. Nice. They sound great, and so that's how we started Red Rockers, basically. And then we started writing our own material, obviously, and we were called the Rat Finks originally.
Oh, really?
And we started writing more, I guess, politically bent stuff like the Clash and Stiff Little Fingers. And we just said we need a different name. And the Dills, which was a band from San Francisco, I think they're actually from Vancouver, but they had a song called Red Rockers Rule. And Darren, our bass player, came in one day and said, I think we should name the band Red Rockers. I said, wow, that's pretty cool. You know, so we started painting hammer and sickles and shit on our amps and stuff. And red stars, you know. I went out and got a red star tattooed on my arm right here, you know.
Wow.
And then it was funny because we moved to Los Angeles, and we started playing around town, and we have these Revolutionary Day workers come in with their knocking on our apartment, you know, with their wanting us to hand out their
propaganda,
their propaganda stuff.
Wow,
it was crazy, man. Yeah, and we played.
Wow,
become a communist.
That's right.
When we moved to L.A. and we were doing gigs in L.A. and San Francisco, and we befriended Jello Biafra from Dead Kennedys, and we stayed at his house for about a month while we got our feet on the ground. And man, it was a great time. That was just so much fun.
Henry Rollins, Black Flag.
Right. We played with them. We played with them in New Orleans, actually.
Talk about intense.
Oh yeah.
You know, I got to tell you got to look this up. You listeners would love this. He does this take. I think it's a spoken word. I know he's doing a speech or something, and he's describing his friendship with David Lee Roth. And Henry Rollins mimics David Lee Roth perfectly. I mean,
Really?
you'd think it's David Lee Roth in the room.
Yeah, he's got a ton of those albums, the spoken word stuff, so you'd have to probably dig through it.
Probably to see him do it as I don't know what it's called, but we were listening into the van last couple weeks.
Oh, that's hilarious.
And it just has you on the ground. You'll die laughing. He's actually got a really good relationship with David Lee Roth. They're friends. They're really good friends.
He's a very smart guy. Too.
Yeah, oh yeah.
He's a really smart guy.
Did you ever hear the story what happened to him over in what is that beach? I don't know what the beach is, where it's okay during the day, but at night you do not want to be there. Where they would show the beginning of Three's Company, and that's where you see the guys on the
Venice Beach.
Yeah, Venice.
Beach?
Yes, and it's like it's not a good neighborhood at night. During the day, it's okay.
It's got some sketchiness going on. Yeah.
Well, he was with a famous actor's son. They were roommates, and one night they would go get their groceries every week at this certain time, and when they got to their doorstep, there was a guy that came up on them, and he shot the kid and killed him.
No.
Whoa.
Yeah, and Henry took off through the house and went through the back of the house. He had just unlocked the door, and he went through the back of the house and escaped. But he said at that point he realized that in life you can't build these patterns because somebody was watching them. They knew they were going to be there at that time.
Interesting.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Can you believe that? I mean, it was the strangest
Close call.
story.
Yeah.
And
Close
he,
call.
you know, he
Yeah.
in his spoken word he talks about it and all.
Right.
And I have a couple of his things. I recommend him. He's really good at doing this.
he's a
and
very smart guy.
funny.
He is, yeah.
And he's
sure.
he's a world traveler. I know he's been to Vietnam like probably half a dozen times. He loves that place for some reason.
Yeah.
He's got a show on KCRW, which is the public. Well, that's the Santa Monica college radio station. It's pretty popular in Los Angeles. He's got a Sunday night show, and he talks about going, these places that are really. I had no idea he traveled this much, but he's like in Vietnam, like probably once a year or something like that.
Wow.
He
Yeah,
loves the
Black
place.
Flag, they played in the Soviet Union.
Yeah,
And he said, he goes like this, he goes, we want a traditional Russian dinner. So they brought out this stuff, and it was all blood and all this weird stuff. And he goes, it was the grossest thing. And they go, you can get a hamburger, And they were like, what? And he goes, you wanted a traditional Russian dinner. Here it is.
Yeah.
And they were like, oh, let's get the hamburgers.
wow. Well, you
never know what you're in for.
You never know.
anyway.
You were saying how he's a world traveler. The China took you guys many places.
Well, to be honest with you, man, we never left the United States, and I don't know why we never did, but we should have, because we would get a lot of fan mails from like Czechoslovakia and Behind the Iron Curtain and stuff like that in Europe. And I don't know, of course, we had a lot of imagery of Oriental, Asian.
Yeah.
On our covers and stuff like that, but I don't know why we never went to Japan or Australia.
Really, I was under the impression that you had done a couple of parts of world tours with other bands.
Well, you know what? They came here.
True. Yeah.
Men at Work, U2.
U2.
Let's see who else. Well, the rest. Those were only two big ones that were from foreign countries, but we did B-52s, Joan Jett.
You toured with U2?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Unforgettable Fire Tour.
Holy shit.
I remember walking out on stage at the Mesa Amphitheater in Mesa, Arizona, and seeing 25,000 people. And I was like, what? Wow, this is it.
Hope the
And
guitar's
that's
in tune.
back to what we were talking about before we started this interview.
Yes.
We were talking about like when you walk out there and you don't get overwhelmed. You just start to think, oh yeah, this is supposed to happen. And if it wasn't happening, then I better at least go back and check what's wrong.
I'm here, and this is where I'm supposed to be.
I'm supposed to be. I dreamed of this.
Let's go.
Yeah, I manifested this.
Well, you guys,
Right.
you guys were like the Allman Brothers. They've never toured outside the country.
They have?
No.
Really?
Really?
Never. The
Interesting.
Allman Brothers have never played outside the United States.
Wow.
Is that crazy?
That's crazy. See,
And-
I learn something new every day. Usually it's from our guest, but wow.
Wow.
And the funny part is that they Europe, of course, wants the Allman Brothers.
Mm-hmm.
And I asked Warren Haynes one night because I got to meet him and talk to him, and I asked him about it, and he said, "Man," he goes, "we've talked about it 1,000 times." And he goes, "But we just
It
we
never
just never
happens.
get it together. He
Wow.
goes, so we just said, nah. You imagine what that would be a huge, because they would have
Well, I could
all
tell
their
you.
gear and
Well, yeah, they have a very large and diverse back line.
See, they need to do what we done. Scale down and get rid of your stage.
Yeah,
amps.
we're gonna talk about that
Okay.
too. But,
you mean like get rid of one drummer?
It's funny. We played Summerfest a couple weeks ago, and we played with we were on at the same time as Doobie Brothers. And Brian, our bass player, and I, we ran over to the stage because it was right next to ours, and we watched the opening 4 songs. Doobie Brothers and had to run back and get on stage for our show. They have 2 drummers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And one guy's funny because in the middle of the song, one guy, the heavy setter guy, the one guy on the left, he's like looks young and he's like a punk rocker, and the other guy's had a heavy set and he looks like he's been around since dirt, and he's like they'll be playing and he'll just stop in the middle of the song. And then he'd come back in on the verse or chorus.
Because he's so needed.
I know, right?
What a gig! I don't have to play if I don't want to.
Yeah, I'm gonna take a break here on the
Right.
on the chorus.
Can you imagine you look back and you start going,
I gotta go pee. I'll be right back.
Oh, what if you know the drummer, the other guy, the little punk guy? You look over, they go, yeah, what are you stopping for?
He better watch out because the tech might get up there.
Yeah.
Right. I'll raise your hand.
exactly.
That's right.
Yeah.
Who can play drums?
Billy Powell's son.
Right, right.
Exactly. Oh man. So like you were saying, the U2 thing was probably the biggest tour you've been on. Any
was.
real moments for you in that?
It was
environment?
certainly one of the most interesting to see them at that level. They had just come out with Pride in the Name of Love, and that Unforgettable Fire album put them in stadiums. They were playing like the Fox theaters and stuff up until that point.
Yeah.
And the world just opened up. It was amazing to watch because I'd seen them before. I'd seen them several times at the Fox Theater in Atlanta, down in New Orleans, on the Riverboat President. So you just knew. Well, we all knew that was going to happen eventually anyway. It's like you said. You just could see it.
You just know.
You just know.
Were they cool?
They're very nice, very sweet.
Yeah.
I'll tell you a story. We were touring in a long Winnebago, and we were in Denver, and our business manager got mad at us for some reason and came and took it back to Missouri where we were kind of headquartered at that time, and all our clothes and everything were in it, suitcases and everything.
Took it.
He just got the keys and took off and drove it back to Missouri. And this is after my mom and dad had put up the money for it, and Darren's mom had put up the other half of it.
Wow.
To buy the thing, right? And so we had no clothes to change into. We had just had our stage clothes, and they were so sweet. They found out that our bus had been stolen, and they rallied around us after the show in a green room or somewhere, and handed us $5,000 cash and said, "Here, go buy yourselves some new clothes."
Wow.
And I was just like, "You got to be kidding, really? Are you kidding?"
Wow.
Like, what I could do with $5,000, dude. I can tell you that.
Buy me a new guitar.
That's awesome.
That is really cool.
That was a very nice gesture. I'll never forget it.
Did you still have your gear? You just
We had our stage gear, because everything was on stage, and we had a rider truck that all that stuff. Our crew put everything in and drove that.
So it was the band bus.
Band bus with all our personal items in it.
Now they could have sent down a manager, but the actual band came down.
They were standing there with Paul McGinnis. They were all 4 standing there, and a couple road guys and stuff. And
that is so cool.
Said, "Look, man, we heard what happened. We're really sorry, but we want to make sure you guys feel welcomed here, and you're okay, and you can go buy yourself some new clothes. And here's $5,000 in an envelope."
Wow.
Bang. And
so nice.
Yeah.
That is something to be said right there.
Yeah. Very nice.
You still had your gear. What were you playing at that point? What was your gear?
I was playing a JCM 800, and I was going through a bunch of weird guitars. I was playing a Gibson. It was a double cutaway, kind of like a special, but it had like a maple. What do you call it? Flame. Top,
flame maple top.
Tobacco colored top.
Solid body.
Solid body.
That wasn't. The DC wasn't invented then.
No, it was just some kind of Gibson double cutaway. They were just coming out with just I don't know. I was playing my first guitar, real guitar. It was I bought for $400 at an auction there was a music store in New Orleans called Sound City, and every so often they would open up the back of a Ryder truck, and they would have stuff gear in there, I guess from their warehouse, and they would auction it off. So I bought this Les Paul Pro Deluxe, was what it was called, with white soap bar P90s in it.
Wow.
And
when was this?
This is probably 1979.
Wow.
Yeah, and I bought it for $400, no case. Didn't have a case, and they
because the house they stole it out of, they didn't get the case.
Right, they left that behind. Right.
That's right. I forgot about that.
And I played the hell out of that the entire time until about till later, like last couple of years of Red Rockers. I kind of retired it, and I was playing a Rickenbacker for a while. It was a 6-string. It's kind of like the 12-string that Tom Petty has on that cover. Damn to Torpedoes.
Yeah.
I think it was called a 260 model, and it was 6-string. It sounded great as I played it through a Marshall JCM 800 with 412 cabinet, and
wow.
Yeah, no effects really, nothing. I was basically playing rhythm at that point because
you said you were playing a JC 120 though.
No, he said 800.
800.
Oh, did you?
JCM 800.
Okay, I thought you said JC 120 because I was using that for it during that period. I was using the 120 for clean, and then a Marshall for dirty.
Oh wow.
You know.
Okay, I've never seen a 120.
It's a Roland. It's a solid. The JC 120. Yeah.
I will say this:
the ubiquitous stereo chorus amp that everybody had
in the '80s. I got to tell you, we used that all over our third album, Schizophrenic Circus.
Wow.
Yeah, now I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it's we used it a lot. We used on recording, but I didn't bring one out live. I don't know. Now you just remembered. I had this old MXR flange unit that I used from time to time, very sparingly and not very much. Wow, and it's the 2-space rack, MXR.
Oh, rack unit. Wow.
Flanger.
Flanger doubler.
Yes.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes.
Wow.
And you know why I know that? Dimebag Darrell.
Oh, really?
Dimebag Darrell would use the flanger doubler, but Grady would only hit it in when he would pull those notes way high. So you get that weird, offset thing going on. And he talked about it one time, and I saw a picture of it. That's the only reason I know.
Well, I still have an MXR 2-space rack delay unit, digital delay unit. It's an analog delay unit. It's I don't use it very much.
Is that a Blue Front?
Yes, it is.
Yes,
wow.
yeah, I know that unit. Yeah.
That's going back, man.
That was all over the place
memory.
too. That was all over the place too. Wow.
Yeah, those MXR boxes were really great back in the late 70s and early 80s. I mean, it was the little comps, the little orange distortion plus.
Oh yeah,
it was great. They were great, man.
The Phase 90, of course.
Right.
I don't know why we still
Phase
don't
45, Phase 90, and Phase 100 was the big one.
Right. Right. Yep.
A lot of keyboard guys like Keith.
Brewer?
Brewer.
Yeah.
Back in the earlier band in Clyde
would use Phase.
He used it on his keyboards.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. On the Yamaha Baby Grand, he would put like a Phase 90 on the Yamaha. It sounded huge.
Nice.
Now you want to know something that's really odd? Think about the Roland Jazz Chorus amps, right?
Yeah.
Roland is a company that is making new products as we speak.
Right.
Right? They're getting rid of products, and they are making products new. That is the only amplifier on the planet that they still make the exact same way.
Do they really?
From the first
JC 120. JC 120.
And haven't changed a lick.
No.
It's still got the same original knobs.
I love
the
it.
way they build the outside with the hammered brass.
Rivets, yeah.
Right. Yeah. My first amp was a PV. My mom bought me a PV Classic 410 little combo amp.
The classics are not bad amps. They're not bad amps.
For $400,
That's one of the only ones that are.
And we took that and that guitar was what I played pretty much my first 5 years in Red Rockers.
Wow.
And I remember we played this gig in Sacramento, California, and we had to borrow some amps, and we played through these. This band we were playing with had these. I think I could be mistaken. They were Ampeg V4.
Sure. Yeah.
Is that? It was like 100-watt.
Yep.
Supercharged amp.
Loud as
and
hell.
Loud as
Real
shit.
loud and clean.
Yes. loud and clean, and that natural distortion just fucking rip your head off. And I went, you know what? I got to get rid of this little PV 410 thing, man.
Yeah, this thing's moving my pant legs. This is good.
Oh yeah, we really enjoyed that. And, it really changed our thinking towards our amps. You know, well, we were kind of poor too, you know, so we couldn't really afford a whole lot. Sure. But then we got a publishing deal from I think it was Warner Brothers or something, and they gave us like $20,000, and we all ran out, and that's where I got the JCM 800 and new guitars and stuff like that. But yeah, I traded that thing off. I wish I hadn't, that black Les Paul. Yeah, it's like my baseball cards. I sold them too.
Yeah,
I'm kicking myself every day. You know, I've told myself, do not sell your Hot Wheels. Do not sell your Hot Wheels.
That's awesome.
I'll be kicking my own ass for sure.
So Red Rockers went like from when to when? Do you remember?
1979. I was 19 years old. We started the band. We went to 1987. In the spring, I left the band.
Oh, wow.
We did 3 albums. 2 of them were on Columbia, CBS. Just kids, don't try this at home. We put out the 3rd album, and we put the most horrific cover on it. We couldn't. They would not change it for anything, and we just knew it was the death knell. When people see this cover, and they're not even going to listen to the songs, and the songs were great, and they had great guitars, huge guitar sound. We had changed guitar players. My buddy I started the band with had left the band, and we hired a new guy from our neighborhood who I'd seen in high school playing Zeppelin covers to the T. And so Sean Paddock was a great guitar. We knew he was fantastic. So he came on and played some amazing stuff on that last Red Rockers record. But the cover killed us. Luckily, we got the...
what was it called?
It's called Schizophrenic Circus.
Schizophrenic Circus.
And it's very psychedelic. We were kind of changing, you know. We were really getting to The Alarm.
Oh, yeah.
We were doing some big country sounding stuff, big guitars. And we were just on the Go-Go's tour. We had the U2 tour for that album. And I remember just standing in Radio City Music Hall, and we were at an MTV event. And the 4 of us were standing with the 4 guys of U2 in the foyer, just kind of goofing off and whatever, and talking and laughing. And Jim turns to Bono and goes, "Hey man, we just released this album and we need a tour." And he goes, "Okay." Next thing you know, 2 weeks later, we're meeting in Houston and we're on tour with U2. That's how easy it worked.
Wow.
Back then, you know.
Oh, I see why this album did.
Yeah, don't look at that. Don't look at that.
Mr. Technology's pulling it up on his Apple here.
Well, the idea was to
well, you got some hot chicks in the background.
Well, yeah, they're fuzzy.
They're fuzzy.
but the idea was to do like a Strange Days, like the Doors kind of cover with the circus guys, you know, circus people, oddball stuff. And I begged the photographer, this French lady, to use a wide angle lens to make it a bubble effect, to make it. She assured me that it was. It's like 16 millimeter. It's gonna be fun.
It'll be fun.
Yeah, she lied.
She lied.
Just dead on, in focus, just as plain as could be.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Thank God I didn't have to wear the Jungle Man suit.
Yeah.
I got to be the ringleader in that.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, the Jungle Man suit is.
Well, the clown suit. Right.
Yeah, that's.
Maybe we'll do you a favor and not post a picture.
No,
of
we
this.
won't post a picture. Wow. You know, that's like. Not to compare it to Spinal Tap, but remember in the movie he was like, smell the glove.
Smell the glove. It's black.
Right.
Can't get any more blacker.
You have a woman on all fours with a black gloved hand
in her face.
Yes.
Yeah. So what's your point, right?
and she's like, "Are you kidding me?" Fran Dresser. That's who that was.
Fran Drescher.
That's right.
Oh my God.
Drescher. Yes.
And you have Paul Schaefer. Paul Schaefer is Artie Pupkin.
Yeah. From Palmer Records.
Right.
Oh my God! What a
classic,
such a classic. Such a classic.
Kick my ass. Go ahead. Come on.
So
sorry.
Red Rockers is over. So we're guessing the album cover killed it, and it wasn't anything to do with you getting a cease and desist from Sammy.
No.
Okay.
And by the way, I'm gonna go on record. We were first, bro.
Yeah, you were.
I had never heard the word Red Rockers before we came up with it. We took it from a Dill song.
Yeah.
So
he didn't get it until I Can't Drive 55.
Right. Yeah.
That's when he got it because of the Ferrari and his jumpsuit. And
Plus, he's a singular.
Right. He's the Red Rocker.
Yes.
Yeah.
Right. Technicalities, dude.
That's right.
It's all the details.
So we got that straightened out. So how does Griff progress from Red Rockers to meeting Fred and into what you're into now?
Well, Fred and Paul
and Fred, by the way, is the drummer for Cowboy Mouth.
Yes.
And you and Fred pretty much it's your band,
right?
Yes.
We started and we had known each other. Fred had played in a band with Paul Sanchez, who was one of our original members in Cowboy Mouth. That they had a band called Backbeats, and they would open up for Red Rockers pretty frequently around New Orleans. And they played a lot of Joe Ely and the kind of rockabilly stuff. There was a really great rockabilly scene in New Orleans back then in the early 80s.
Wow.
There's a bunch of bands, Blue Vipers. There was and the Dash Rip Rock with Fred's band formed out of that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. But Fred and I have been friends for a long time. I've known him since he was 17. And they were jealous. You know, envious. They'd even tell me, so like, dude, we're so jealous, man. You get to be on MTV. Yeah, fuck you, man. You know, I hate you. You know, but I remember I had left the Red Rockers, and I pursued a solo career, and I did one album.
Oh wow!
Called Son of an Engineer, and I was doing the Gulf Coast scene. You know, playing around town. I opened for Dylan at the zoo, and speaking of. There's a poster on the wall here, and he's got a bass guitar in his hand.
Yes, that's odd.
Who knew he had played bass?
I
didn't know. Well, anyway.
Here, hold this. We're going to take a picture.
Right. Well, and just kind of milled around for 3 years, and then around 1990, I was about to pack up and move to Austin, Texas, because I just kind of got tired of being in New Orleans, and I wanted to go somewhere else. And Fred called me and said, actually, you know, I got to tell you, one of my thoughts was I would watch people like Willie Nelson or these guys on stage, and they'd have a guy in the back, these country artists that would have there would be a guy back there just strumming a J200 or something.
Mm-hmm.
And I go, he's probably making about $1,500 a week. Why can't I be that guy? You know, I kind of didn't want to be the front guy anymore. I'd done it with the Red Rockers, I'd done it with my solo
utility
thing.
guy.
And I just said, I wonder what it's like to make. Well, first of all, you need to make a living, and I wasn't. I was like not making $1,500 a week, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. And I said, why can't I be that guy? I want to be that guy. You know, I want to be the side guy. And sure enough, I get called from Fred. Hey man, I lost my deal. A&R got fired, and I don't have a deal now. But I got to go on the road. I'm forming a band. You want to play guitar? I went, man. I tell you what, I'm not a stellar lead player, but I can play melodies, and I'll do whatever you write. You know, I could copy what you tell me to play. He goes, okay, sure. So I showed up, and they had like some small little amp. I think it was a PV or something like that. And we went through with the first song. Let's go, Why You Want to Do Me? And we all looked at each other and went, wow, that was awesome. Cool. That was all, because they would have a 3-piece, and they had a bass player. It was more of a jazz, progressive bass player who was way over our heads. He was too good for us.
Wow.
But it sounded great, and I just turned to Fred. I said, well, I got to tell you, dude, I'm going to be bringing a pretty heavy-duty Marshall in here, so better get ready. Better be prepared. This is not what it's going to really sound like. It's going to be huge. So I warned him.
You think it sounds good now?
Right. And they... So we're off to the races, and I remember our first few gigs we had were sellouts. We were playing small venues in New Orleans, and there was a lot of buzz, you know, because Fred had notoriety with the Dash
Rip Rock,
had regional hits and stuff, and Red Rockers, and then Paul was kind of a singer-songwriter in his own right, you know, folky, very John Prine meets Steve Forbert kind of stuff, you know, and so we really had a instant kind of follow.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah.
Were you still playing that same Les Paul?
I still had it. You know, my girlfriend had bought me a 57 reissue Strat with a maple neck with a tobacco sunburst. For some reason, I love tobacco sunburst. I don't know why, but everything, I like the one I'm playing tonight here at Ramshead Live in Annapolis, is given to me by Gibson Guitars, and it's a classic, which I really like because the pickups are really high output. I think they're 8 ohms or something like that.
8K.
Something like that. Yeah.
Probably burst buckers.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah. And I had originally bought a gold top, and it was classic back late 1990s, and I love this guitar. It was light. It was gold, all back and sides, top.
Wow.
And it had this really high output, and I was like, man, sometimes it would get out. You had to really rein it in because you could really get away from you. I mean, you'd be like, like holy shit, I didn't even mean to do that, But it was a great guitar, but the airlines busted the headstock off of it twice, and three times, and the third time I went to a Gibson guy the second time, and I had him do it because I wanted it done right. It broke a third time, and I just said, screw it, I'm fixing it myself. And it works. I can tell you a funny story, man. When I was at Red Rockers, I took that black Les Paul that I had, the Pro Deluxe, and my dad was yelling at me, and the guys were in the car. They, come on, we gotta go. And my dad's, no, you're not going anywhere. You're gonna stay here and do chores. And I was like, the push and pull, I just got so frustrated. I took the guitar and I threw it. I don't know what got into me, but I threw it into the street.
Oh my God!
From the sidewalks to the side of my house, and it
in the case.
Okay. And it landed flat on the street, on the concrete. And I went, what have I just done? I closed my eyes like, man, you stupid idiot. What are you thinking? But, when you're in that moment, heat of the moment. I picked it up. I opened the case, and it had come undone. It separated, how the neck. The neck. You know how it's glued into that thing? It popped straight up.
Holy
just
crap.
about maybe like maybe a quarter inch to maybe 3/8 of an inch.
Yeah, like an important amount of distance. Yes.
A little neck joint there.
I said, but I thought to myself, I got this. Because my dad was, he had every tool in the book. He's like my dad's Spicoli's dad. I was like, hey man, my dad's got an awesome set of tools.
He's a TV repairman,
right? And I just put it in a vise and put some wood glue in there, and I closed it really slow, straight, and it worked.
Wow.
Yeah. They weren't using Type Bond 2 back then, so
true.
Hide glue after a certain amount of years,
it gets brittle.
Well, it was Pat Travers was talking about. He was sitting there and he was doing this thing where he was like, trying to make it wah 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 when he was a kid, and it just came off in his hand.
Well, I got to tell you, when I was doing my solo thing in the late '80s, I had bought a thin line telly from a pawn shop in New Orleans, and it had a 3-bolt neck. They come some come with a 4, but most came with a 3-bolt.
The 70s came with
micro tilts,
yeah.
Right, and I remember that thing, man. The neck would kind of just go out slightly to the right, and you just stick it on your knee and go, and put it back in the joint.
Absolutely.
And in the middle of a show.
And what was the trick? How did you stop that? Do you remember how to stop it?
How?
Pull the neck off, take a piece of screen, a little square of a screen off of a screen door, put it in there, bolt, screw it back down as tight as you could, and it would keep that side lateral movement from happening. Yeah.
Interesting.
Wow, because of the friction between the wood.
Yep.
2 pieces of wood. Wow.
I will classify that into what I know now, should have known then, or whatever it is.
Can't use new screens, though, because they're not made out of metal. They're made out of fiberglass.
Yeah, they're right. Wow, interesting. I learned 2 things today, and they were both from you.
Well, actually 3, I would think, wouldn't you? What was it? Okay, so we had Henry Rollins.
I don't know, the screen, and was there something else?
And there was one other one.
I don't know.
Who's keeping? What, are you keeping score?
I don't know. I'll have to go back and listen now.
Well, you know what? One of the great
Look,
things.
I don't get to do it that often.
That's right.
One of the great things about that era, about the late '80s, early '90s, was vintage guitars weren't really vintage yet.
No.
They were just old.
They were just old.
Yeah, and you could guitars, you had old guitars, and that's it.
Right. You could go to Austin, Texas, and buy like a Les Paul,
for dirt cheap,
for $400,
right?
Like a '70s Les Paul, early '70s.
Nobody wanted them. Everybody wanted a Kramer. They wanted something with a Floyd Rose.
Right.
They wanted an Ibanez.
So we started buying that stuff up. I have a '59 Melody Maker single cutaway, which is one of my favorite guitars. So sweet, man. And it's so light. The neck is heavier than the body, so it kind of has that weird
heavy,
unbalancing thing. But it sounds so good. It's got these little mini humbuckers in it.
Wow.
And I remember that when I used to go see this band called the Backstabbers, this punk band in New Orleans, this guy, Russell Jobert, played this guitar. And I walked into a vintage guitar store in New Orleans with Steve Walters, our original guitar bass player for Cowboy Mouth. And I saw the guitar. Immediately, I knew exactly whose it was.
Oh, wow.
I said, dude, that's Russell's guitar. He goes, yeah. I said, I got it for $600.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and this is like 1991, 92, something like that, 3.
Did you buy it? You
Yeah,
bought it?
I still have it, yeah.
We're going to have to make that Wayback Machine so we can go back and buy all those old guitars.
We used to have a joke. We'd be on the road in the van, and we'd be like Pensacola or something like that, and Fred would go, hey, man, you want me to pull over this pawn shop? Maybe they have Les Pauls for $5. And he would tease us, because we were always going in there.
Right. But, hey, good deals to be found, man.
Yeah.
Good deals to be found.
Those were the days you could find them.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So you were, you were, I don't want to use the term real amps, but you were playing Marshalls and things like that. You got to the point where Cowboy Mouth is gotten, to the point where you can just come in and there's backline waiting for you. At least that's what it was a couple of years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys have changed it up again.
Right. Well, I was for the last several years, I've been playing a JCM 2000 Marshall through a 412 cabinet. And Matt Jones, our other guitarist, brilliantly came up with this great scheme to scale back and clean up the stage.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're playing on Fractal audio units, the FX2.
FX2s, yeah.
And
wow,
it's pretty amazing, man. At first I thought, okay, I'll try it.
Yeah.
But I will see if I really miss those tubes, But and even Dwight, our guitar tech, he told Matt, he said, Griff ain't gonna like this. He ain't gonna like this, man. He's gonna want his tubes, man.
Now I'm sorry, I don't mean to interrupt, but right. Matt, we interviewed Matt.
Yeah.
Matt used East,
right?
Poured a drink into it.
What?
No, was that a Buddha or was that East?
No, it was East.
It was an East.
Oh. Yeah, like a drink fell into the back of it.
Drink fell into the back of it, dried it out, still works.
Yeah.
Don't do that with the Axe effects.
Nope.
But so now no amps.
Yeah, no.
Yeah,
nothing. They're all fractal. They're in-ears and fractal. Their fly rig is like a couple of cases and they're done.
Yeah, and it's very convenient. We fly home with all our gear. Like I fly home with my fractal.
Yeah.
And my Pelican, and I have a pedal board that comes with the unit, and then I carry one of my guitars home, and Dwight carries the other guitar to his house. So it's very and we fly Delta exclusively because they give us free baggage.
Oh, nice.
I mean, you walk up with 6 guys and you've got like 16 pieces.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that can get astronomically expensive.
Yeah.
I'm talking like $1,600, and we fly every weekend 2 or 3 times.
Right.
Legs, It's just to give you an idea, I had to fly U.S. Airways. Damn.
Yeah.
I missed a flight. I had to get another flight, and I paid $200 for my 3 bags.
Oh my God.
Got up to the thing, and my fractal Pelican is 60 pounds. He wanted another $100.
Because
well,
it's
there
overweight.
you go.
It's overweight.
It's overweight. I bet $300, dude. I just paid $200 anyway. So so that's
I would look at him and go, I'm like $1.85. I only paid for the seat. It's like I didn't get charged extra because I weigh 185.
Right.
If I weigh 225, would I have to pay like an extra $100?
Right.
How does that work?
Yeah. What about the 300-pound woman sitting there taking up 3 seats?
Yeah, I had to get the seatbelt extender, but yet she doesn't have to.
Oh yeah.
She doesn't have to pay anymore, but I got to pay for the bag. I got you.
Well, the good thing about the fractals is they come stock with like over 300 presets
from artists.
And actually, the cool thing about it, which I haven't even, we haven't even scratched the surface of using these things.
Yeah.
Because we had to hit the ground running as soon as we got them, and Matt did a fantastic job setting mine up. And
well, I mean, you guys don't need 300 sounds either. You guys are really it's very basic, and it's all about the energy and the message and
right.
But here's the weird part. Usually I hear it from metal guys and, guys that are going through stuff that's like, crazy metal shows. That's what I see a lot of these guys using the axe effects.
Yeah.
Right.
So this is different. I guess more and more, because it is a very versatile device.
Right.
Now, the other thing is that if you carry a laptop and you get into some crazy presets, you can like run the simulated signal to the front of house, but then run just the effects through a real amp on the stage. You can blend it. It is crazy what you can do with that signal.
Well, supposedly that and the Kemper, they both you can sample your sound.
Yes,
right.
Just stick a mic in front of your Marshall speaker, and
the Kemper is more for that.
For that, okay.
Yeah.
The Fractal actually uses the actual circuits that are in the amplifiers. The guy he gets the schematic, he builds it inside there.
Really?
So when you're changing the bass, you're getting what the bass would do on that amp.
Interesting.
They haven't called Jeff yet.
See, I learned something again.
Totally.
I learned something.
I've been studying these things because we've been talking about them. For,
I'm wondering where that technology came from, because I know, surprisingly,
yes,
Hartley was working on that years ago.
Well,
I know this for sure.
Yeah, I don't know who that engineer is. There's one cat over there that's like the lead guy.
Yeah. Well, I did my second solo album was called Aluminum, and I used the Bean, the pod,
the Line 6
exclusively on it, and I didn't use any amps at all. And I wrote a letter to Line 6, and I said, look, I just did this album. Here's a copy. It's all pod. I didn't use one single amp. Everything is straight off the pod. The tremolo, everything is bass even. And I even sang, and I also sang vocals through it.
Yeah.
I'd sing my my harmony background stuff, and it would sizzle, get a little sizzle, this distortion, whatever. And never heard back from them.
No.
I thought it'd be a cool
Thank
little
you,
promotion.
Line 6.
Thank you.
Thank you, Line 6. Yeah.
Well, that's why they're Line 6.
That's true.
Well, anyway.
Well, man, we could carry on about gear and everything forever, because it is called Amps and Axes. But let's we know you're using Fractal now. Let's go over a couple of guitars, because I know you got to eventually eat and play. So
yes.
What are you playing? What are you playing on?
We're getting that magic number. I can see.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I was playing. I have a funny story. Is I went to. I was in San Francisco, and I was playing a cherry wine dark Les Paul custom.
Okay.
And it followed, something happened, and it developed a hairline fracture up by the headstock. And I didn't want to take any chances. So when we got to Hollywood, I went to Guitar Center, and I was just going to flat out buy a brand new Les Paul custom. So walked around, and nobody even gave me the time of day. Nobody looked at me. I couldn't get anybody to help me.
Duh.
So I said, well, screw this. And I walked to the corner, and I went into this, right there by Guitar Center on Sunset. There's a bunch of little vintage, little mom and pop places.
Yeah.
And I walked into the corner place, and as soon as I walked up, I looked on the wall, and there was a black 59 reissue custom. It was a heritage model. It was 250 made. And I said, how much do you want for that? He goes, $2,000. I said, take it.
Holy shit.
And that's what I've been playing.
$2,000?
$2,000.
That's a $6,000 guitar.
It was gorgeous, and I leave it at home now. I don't bring it out on the road. I just I'll probably bring it back and bring it here and there. But
so you left a guitar at home that you didn't want to bring on the road. You went and bought another one that you don't want to bring on the road.
Right. Well, I will say I did put a lot of mileage on that 59, that reissue. I mean, it was my main guitar for probably the last 10 years. Maybe even at least. I have what I'm playing now is a Tobacco Sunburst Classic.
Yes, he was talking
Gibson.
about that. That's right.
Yeah. And I have I play on some songs. I have this. It's a blue suede. It's covered in blue suede. It's a Telecaster that was built by our guitar tech, Dwight Maddox.
Dwight, yeah.
He's got a company called IBDX Guitars.
Yes.
And
interviewed him too.
Yeah, we've had Dwight on. Yeah,
we've had him.
MDX Guitars.
So am I repeating the story about how we?
I don't think so. I don't know about
I don't know. It was like 60 episodes ago.
I don't know about the Velvet Elvis guitar.
I don't remember that one. No.
Well, I met Dwight at a Jackson, Mississippi Jubilee Jam Festival, and he was backstage, and he had his book with all his guitars he'd made, and he had with him this blue. It was a Les Paul covered in light blue suede, and I was like, does that affect the tone or anything? I asked him much, and I had on literally a pair of blue suede creepers, like the punks, and he goes, you know what? I said, I really want a Telecaster for my studio. I don't have one. And he goes, I could make you a blue suede Telecaster, just like them shoes. I said, yeah, right, okay. He goes, no, serious. And I said, okay, do it. And he had a guy go to Italy. He was buying like leather and stuff. He said, hey, man, when you go over there, find me this color. It has to be royal blue, and it has to be suede. And he brought it back, made the guitar.
Wow.
Called me up, says it's ready. $600 later.
Wow.
And I love it. It's got a great sound. I was just worried that the
would be like a blanket.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it doesn't really.
If Warren DeMartini can have an entire guitar covered in snakeskin.
Yeah.
Well, look, if the Reverend Billy
could have a shag carpet.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. The boa covered or feather covered, whatever the hell it is.
And your beard's laying over the strings.
That's right.
Yeah.
I just met Warren DeMartini about a year ago.
Really?
Jesus Christ, how ironic is that?
I know, when you said his name, it's just I have a really a good friend. She's a rock photographer. Her name is Lisa S. Johnson, and she put out a coffee table book called 108 Rockstar Guitars.
Wow.
And Warren is one of them. They put the blue suede telly in there.
Oh, nice.
I told a story about how Dwight and I met, and how it all came about.
Wow.
It's a huge book, and it's some heavy hitters, and to be in that book.
That is so
wow.
cool.
I mean, it makes me I can't believe I'm even in it.
That's awesome. Yeah. Man, our audience will have to purchase that book now.
It's a great coffee table book. It's well done. I have a lot of guitar coffee table books. I'm sure as you do.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
And it takes the cake. It's one of the cream of the crop. The photos are exquisite. The publishing is super done. And it's so Warren was at the we were at like a release party on Sunset over in that area around Guitar Center, and we took a bunch of pictures. And I was like, oh my gosh, Warren DeMartini of Rat. I just wanted to go round and round.
Exactly.
But he was a really sweet man. He was a great guy. Great guy.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, you know what? I like I said, we could talk forever, but I think we're going to need to leave it at the Warren DeMartini story.
Okay,
cool. Because if you don't eat, you'll pass out when you play. Because you guys expend some energy.
My blood sugar's
I've been through worse, man.
Do not get me started. Do not get me started on that one.
Gotcha.
So, Griff, thank you so much, man. I hope you had fun.
You guys,
we had a lot of
I got to
fun.
tell you, man, this is a blast. I love talking
Thank you,
guitars,
man.
and you guys are so easy to draw it out of me. I can't say enough, man. I could sit here all day.
Good,
Oh,
good.
yeah.
Yeah, we try to get the history out of people.
Well, let's do part two, man. I'm
Yeah.
I'm inviting myself.
Absolutely, absolutely.
I love this.
Well, we're going to eventually run out of people.
Right on.
Oh, that's going to be a few years. We are booked so far out right now. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, we get back to you this time December.
Well, congratulations on your anniversary coming up in January.
Well, thank you
Yeah,
much.
man.
Thank you
Fantastic,
much.
man.
This should be out before then.
Yes, it will.
Yeah, but yeah.
Maybe yeah.
Yeah.
You guys will be in another town.
No, dude,
Oh,
we should have
big
a
time.
second anniversary party and just bring guitar players from all over the place.
That would be. I'm in for that.
Well, we could just do it at the Ram's Head.
Yeah.
If we could do it in the summer, I was thinking about this today. We should bring guys and do a whole different thing called from the poolside.
And do it at your pool.
Yeah, and just
hell yeah.
and just bring them over. We'll bring somebody in to do some barbecuing, and we'll just shoot the shit, play some music.
The first hour is good. The second hour, a little shaky.
Yeah, third hour. Yeah.
And the third hour is what everybody's going to want to hear.
And then everybody leaves, and there's a guy floating in the pool. Whoa, who's that? Brian Jones.
Did we interview him already? We did. Okay, good.
Did we get all right?
This band's going to need a new guitar player.
Right.
Oh man.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you very
Yeah,
much.
man.
I appreciate
Thank
it.
you so much, man.
All right.
Have a great show. Go eat some food. Kick some
Fantastic.
ass.
Right
Kick some
on.
ass. All right, man.
Woo!
Thank you.
Rock on.
See ya. And there you have the story.
Yeah, I had to pee really bad.
You're killing me.
I literally was trapped in there because you were on one side, Griff was on the other. I was all the way. This room is very narrow and long, and there's a long table. But thank God that the opening band wanted to eat.
True, because we got eventually got hustled out of the space.
Yeah, and I almost passed out. I mean, literally, I was like, "Oh my God, I'm not going to make it." And I just wanted him to finish his story. You know, I didn't want to. But I was just like, literally, my eyeballs were rolling into my head because I thought, well, I'm just going to pass out and piss myself.
Well, in that order too, more than likely.
That's how it works.
That's how it works. But yeah. Yeah, fun guy, fun stories.
And I could have, we've met some people. He was just genuinely happy to see us.
Absolutely,
it was
absolutely.
That's one, and we haven't really met anybody that was a jerk.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean? Everybody's been very cool with us, but there's some guys, man. It's just like that little extra. It's just when you meet somebody like that, it's like you could have the worst day. And then you meet somebody like that, and you're like, my day ain't that bad.
Right. Yeah.
He makes you feel very at home.
Yeah, for sure.
You know?
Good guy.
Yeah. And a hell of a musician.
Yes. He's a really good player.
Yeah.
And, he and Fred, they started the Cowboy Mouth thing a while ago, and they are the two main guys, in Cowboy Mouth. And they've had a couple of other guitar players, including Matt, who's still with them. Our friend Matt Jones is still with them.
Yep.
New bass player. It used to be this the lovely Cassandra.
That's right. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, a lot of stories, and how often do you hear some band being so generous when all your stuff gets driven away? It's like,
yes.
What do you mean you got no clothes?
Yeah. And then these four guys from this one band, U2.
That's a number in a letter.
Have you ever heard of them?
Number. I don't know.
Yeah.
I think they had a hit or something.
All I know is their music invaded my iPhone one day.
That's true. Where'd this come from?
Like every iPhone on the planet.
Right. iPod, iPhone.
Yeah, anything that was connected.
Right.
Oh, you got it.
We all got it.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah.
A very cool story, though.
Very cool story.
Yeah.
Very cool story. So there you have the story of JTG.
All
Griff.
right.
Griff, as we like to call him.
Yes. So until next time, my friend.
Damn right.
Yes. One place we won't visit is Meridian, Mississippi. Anyway, I am Mick Marcelino.
Never say never, because I'm still Jeff Bober.
We are always saying
onward.
Be sure and follow the show on Twitter @Amps and Axes. Also, make sure you like the show on Facebook. For news, comments, and everything else, visit the webpage ampsandaxescast.com. Thanks for listening.